So our theme today, or our title, is Move to Feel, Move to Heal. And for me, my yoga practice or any type of movement has really become, especially in, the COVID times, it's like a place of solace where I know afterwards that I'm going to feel better, not just physically, but it really helps me kind of move some of my whatever it is, fatigue or sadness or stress. Maybe I'm really happy, but it's become such a channel for me to feel those things. So today I want us to kind of just bring to our minds and pay attention to if our movement is becoming a channel for those types of for anything that you're feeling today. And it could be joy, and that's, we feel that openly as well. So just thinking about that connection between how we're feeling in the world and moving our bodies, and how those two can work together. So we are going to start in child's pose today. And I'll come back to the screen just one more time to lock our Zoom room, but go ahead and, oh, we've got one more. Go ahead and you have a bunch of options for your child's pose. So you can have the legs together. If you're just coming in, we're just going to start briefly in a child's pose. So you can have the legs together. You could have the toes together and the knees as wide as the mat. That's often a nice modification of the pose. You could also tuck those toes if you need a little bit of lift in the hips. It might pull too much on the feet, so just monitor if that's working for you. And then I did this in my quick flow yesterday, but instead of letting the torso slump towards the floor, we're going to start getting used to finding that neutral length in the spine. So if you have a block, I want you to bring it under the forehead, and you can feel, based on how deeply you can crease the hips, you can feel what height is going to work for you. So you could be up on the highest setting, you could be really low. Just notice where your body's at. And if you don't have a block, my hack for that is to make a fist with the hand, and you'll place the pinky side down on the mat, and then a flat palm on top of that, and it makes a nice little stacked pillow. And if you feel like your head's too far down, it's a little bit slumping forward, you can double fist. It's just a little bit knobbier than the flat palm. And when you get here, I just want you to take a moment for yourself. Breathing deeply into your torso, really envisioning that torso as a cylinder and kind of picturing where the air can go as you breathe. And I'm not going to tell you where it should go. This is your journey. But just explore the different ways you can expand. And if you're ready, you can walk the hands forward so the arms are extended, but I want you to keep that head held up. So we're not really slumping towards the floor. We're keeping length in the front of our body. And then you can walk the hands over to the left, and you'll keep the right half of the pelvis anchored. So you don't want to let that right half swing out to the side or pull forward, because you're going to lose some of your side stretch here. And that might mean you take the hands a little bit less far, and that's fine. But really let that stable pelvis be a good foundation to have a nice stretch. And then walk the hands back through center if you took that. And we'll walk the hands to the right. So again, this time it's going to be the opposite side of the pelvis, the left half that you want to keep anchored. And from that anchor, you can stretch above it. I'm just going to let one more person in. You can breathe there. Big breath in. Feeling the side opening in this child's pose. And then from there, you can walk your hands back towards your knees and start to rise up towards more of a kneeling position. And we'll come onto our backs. So just swing those shins in one direction, or, get there however feels good. And we'll head to our low bridge as we always do. So feet will be flat on the floor, those knees bent, facing up towards the ceiling. And we'll just recline and find some settling on the back. Big inhale here. Exhale, start to lengthen the tail towards the heels. Squeeze your glutes and use your glutes to motor that pelvis into a low bridge. As always, we're not going to an extreme range. We're just finding a place where we feel that the glutes have to work to hold our pelvis in this position, but that we're still stacked on the diagonal line from knees all the way up the torso. If you want to play a little bit in this pose, you have, always total agency over what I offer. You don't have to take things, but one option is to press the palms on either side of the pelvis and give a little nudge in. And then start to press the pelvis into the right hand, feeling it move off of your axis slightly. And then press the left half of the pelvis into the left hand. So we're just kind of moving side to side in the pelvis, but trying to keep the feet flat on the floor. It might wake up the hamstrings a little bit, but really you might feel your glute medius, which is this muscle right on the side of the pelvis, kind of pop out into your hand. And this glute medius is a big side-to-side stabilizer, so that makes sense that it would be waking up right now. And if you took that, we'll stabilize. Remember, you can always take a break if you need, but we'll stretch out the wrists, pressing the palms up towards the ceiling, and then pulling back on the right fingers with the left hand. And the next option here is to reach that right arm overhead towards the floor behind you. But if you do that and you feel the ribs going out of control, popping towards the ceiling, just go a little less far. We want to keep that alignment while we open. Good, and we'll switch hands so everybody start pointing up towards the ceiling, whether you take this option or not. And then the same thing, you can start reaching that left arm overhead or not. Glutes are awake, hamstrings are awake. And then let that go and we'll slowly lower to the floor. Heading towards, oh wow, my sacrum just popped. I got like a little adjustment. So we'll head towards our abs, our little core wake up here before we move. I'm gonna cue this with the feet off the floor, knees over the hips, and the legs are bent. But if you prefer to keep those feet down, you always can do that. We'll interlace the hands behind the head, elbows point up to the ceiling, so we've got this little nest for our skull. Inhale here. Exhale, peel the head and shoulder blades off the mat with the goal, it's a goal, you might not get there, of the tips of the shoulder blades coming off the mat. Inhale and lower. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift, just like that. And still feel weight in the sacrum, the very back of the pelvis. And I want you to imagine you were pressing the lower part of the back of the ribs into the mat. Inhale, lower. We're gonna start our add-ons. They're all options. You can stick with what we've done. Inhale. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. We'll add a twist to the left. Again, the goal here is to keep the left tip of the shoulder blade off the floor. It's pretty tough on the obliques, so just notice that. Back to center and inhale, lower. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. We twist to the right. Again, that's an option. You can have your feet down. Remember these things for yourself. Back to center and inhale, lower. Continuing with add-ons if you'd like. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. We'll twist to the left. Next option, extend the right leg on the upper diagonal. So it's maybe 70 degrees. Back to center, knee bends. Inhale, lower. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Adding a twist to the right if you so choose. Maybe extending that left leg on the upper diagonal. But we keep the front consolidated. So if that starts to change, don't take that option. Back to center, inhale, lower. I really feel it. My voice will go soon. Last option, inhale. Exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Twisting left. Option to extend that leg right. Final option, the right palm comes to the top of the left thigh and we push them into each other. Nothing moves, but wow, hits the abs. Back to center, inhale, lower. Last time here, exhale, head and shoulder blades lift. Twisting right. Maybe extend the left leg. Maybe left palm to right thigh and press. Back to center. Oh, draw those knees towards your chest. You don't have to pull them in, just find a place that's comfortable and exhale. Feel all of that work in the abs, it's quite intense. And then we'll flip this onto our right side. So just take this shape over. You can reach the right arm alongside the ear and lay the head on the upper arm. We'll extend the left leg long, almost like we were gonna stand on that foot. And then extend the left arm long, almost like the fingertips could reach past the right fingers. And you'll feel there just a gentle opening of this side that we just forced to work. You're keeping that right knee bent. And just exhale. We'll reverse everything. So curl the knee and the elbow in and then roll over your back, taking those knees with you. And we'll go to the left side. Coming onto our side, that left arm reaches up, laying the head on the upper arm. And then extend the right leg below you as if you could stand on it here. And the right arm reaches away. Past the left fingertips, maybe it's touching the floor, it could be off the floor. Just getting a gentle stretch. Good, and release that. Curling that knee and elbow back, and then rolling onto your back a final time. And we'll make our way up and around for a little bit of quadruped. Getting a bit of cat-cow in today. Coming onto all fours. Bringing those wrists under the shoulders. We'll get the knees under the hips. And we're gonna adapt this today. So we'll take the hips into internal rotation. So that will look like the knees knocking towards center and the feet coming off the mat. It might not be that extreme for you. You could still have the feet on the mat, but we're imagining the thigh bone in our hip socket turning towards our midline. And when we do this, it kind of broadens the back of the pelvis with our hips in this position. We'll take some cat-cows here. So inhale, pull the chest forward, but keep the neck from creaking to take your gaze forward. We're gonna keep the neck just aligned. Exhale, push the hands into the floor for our cat, puffing through the back, getting that big curve. And then inhale, pulling the chest forward, keeping the back of the neck long. Exhale, push into the mat, puffing the upper back, kind of curling the tailbone under. Inhale for your cat. Your cow. I always do it. Always mix them up. Exhale for your cat. Good, and then release that. We're gonna lower the forearms to the floor, but you're gonna try to keep the hips internally rotated. So elbows are on the floor, your arms can be parallel or you can interlace the fingers. And then from here, we'll tuck the toes and lift into dolphin. So really press into the forearms. We tuck the toes, extend the knees, and your hips are in internal rotation here. You should feel a little bit of traction in the low back. You can keep the knees nice and bent. Heels can be off the floor. We're really thinking more about leaning into the back than we are about having straight legs. And if this is too much, you just stick with your quadruped. That's totally fine. One more breath here. Exhale. Good, and lower those knees. We'll plant the hands, tuck the toes, and just walk your way to a bent knee forward fold. Press into the feet, and we'll inhale, rise to stand with a nice long spine. Heading for a sun saddle 1. If you want to use the playlist, we'll go ahead and get that going. Let me turn mine down. And we inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, keep that spine long, knees bend, and those hands plant on the floor, or you could be on blocks. Step the right foot back for our half kneel. Right knee lowers, untuck the toes, and we inhale, rise. Half kneel, that right knee is stacked right under the hip. Feeling length here. Good, and hands come to the floor. We'll step back to plank. You also could be in quadruped every time I say go back to plank. So if that's what feels better, you do that. Lower the knees, keep the chest nice and open as we lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra. Pull the chest forward just like we did in our cow. And then exhale, tuck the toes, lift into down dog. Knees can be bent again, heels can lift. We'll step the right foot forward, half kneel on the other side. Left knee lowers, untuck the toes, inhale, lift. Arms reaching up, feeling that left glute stabilize, keeping the front of the hip nice and open. And then the hands plant to the floor or your blocks, and we'll step the back foot in, bending those knees. Exhale, inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant, floor or blocks. Left foot steps back, lower the knee, untuck the toes, half kneel. Bring those arms down by your sides, and one at a time we'll roll the shoulders up and back. So getting a nice, controlled, isolated movement in the upper back here. As you do this, I really encourage you to keep the chin drawn towards the throat to really maximize the loosening in your traps. And then we'll plant the hands, again, floor or blocks, heading to plank or go to your quadruped by lowering the knees. We'll lower the knees and everybody lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra, chest pulls forward. And exhale, downward facing dog. Keeping a bend in the knees, lift in the heels if you'd like. Half kneel on the left foot steps forward, lower the right knee, top of the foot, inhale, lift. Arms fly down by your sides, and one at a time, once again, we just roll those shoulders. Lengthening the back of the neck is going to put the trap muscles and some of those deeper neck muscles in weirdly a more relaxed position so that these rolls will kind of open things up and massage. And hands plant forward, floor or blocks. Exhale, step the right foot forward, bend those knees, and we inhale, rise to stand. Moving on to our first sequence here. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fingertips land on the floor or your blocks, and we slide the right leg all the way back, keeping the knee off the floor for a fingertip lunge. We're gonna move this a bit, but before we do that, I just wanna give you your options. As I'm doing, you could have your hands on the blocks, if you have those, or books, whatever you have. You could have fingertips on the mat. You could have palms on the mat. You could have your hands on your thigh, so lifting the torso a bit here. Really depends on how that left hip crease feels, so just play around and find what one feels best. Everybody's gonna plant the hands on the mat or your blocks, slide the left leg back, three-legged down dog. Exhale, step the left foot forward, return to your version of our fingertip lunge. We're finding length in the spine, a right glute is awake. Palms plant and back to our three-legged down dog. Left leg lifts. Pelvis is neutral. Exhale, left foot steps forward, last time here. Up on the fingertips, your blocks, find your version. And then we'll turn for side lunges. We're turning towards the right, so the left toes face that direction. And then walk the hands in front of the left foot. Bend into the right knee and hip. Envision that right hip crease moving behind you, and that's gonna protect this right knee. Now this, I'm gonna be honest, we take these things for granted. This requires a crazy amount of mobility in the torso. So if you're like, this feels awful, bring a block under your hands. You don't have to do this side stretch. You could be more perpendicular. Or if this feels really good, I want you to pull the front body up towards your spine. So rather than dipping things towards the floor, exhale and draw the front of you up towards the ceiling and you'll feel even more stretch. This is my favorite stretch in the world, I have to say. We'll turn back to the front, turning both sets of feet. We'll plant the hands. Step back for plank. And when you get there, just pause. You can always lower the knees for this plank. But squeeze those glutes and lengthen the tailbone towards the heels. It's like we were standing, but we just happen to be holding ourselves up. Everybody lower those knees to lower to the floor. Bring both palms underneath the forehead so you'll stack them. Let that forehead land on the palms. And I want you to squeeze the glutes, anchor your pubic bone to the mat. Keeping the forehead connected to the hands, inhale, and then exhale, lift hands and forehead still connected in a bit of a cobra here. And lower back to the floor, inhale. Exhale, forehead stays on the hands. Lift towards your cobra, really check in with the glutes being awake. And lower. One more here, inhale. Exhale, pull that front body towards your back. It's gonna keep things protected there. Good, and then lower. We'll bring the hands underneath the shoulders. We're headed towards a gate pose, so you listen up. We'll tuck the toes, lift through your knees, and then suck the left knee under your hip, and then internally rotate it. We'll face the right side of the mat. That right heel grounds down behind you, and then reach the right arm over towards the front. And as we're here, I'm just gonna turn to the side so you can see something. If you, you'll notice, if you let the ribs fall forward, it changes where you feel a stretch. It kind of changes the whole sensation. Whereas if you keep finding that sense of tadasana or length in this posture, it really brings the stretch into the sides in a very acute way. So just play around with that for yourself. Breathing here, exhale, maybe let the left ear reach the left shoulder. And then we'll come to that same quadruped with the hips internally rotated, but we'll face this side of the mat. So sweep the right hand down and around, bringing it under the shoulder as you face this side of the mat. And those hips are internally rotated. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. As you inhale for cow, remember that feeling of the forehead being on the hands with that length in the back of the neck. Same thing here. Exhale for cat. Inhale for cow. Last time, exhale for cat. Puff the upper back up. Tuck the toes and rise to this internally rotated down dog. Knees can be buoyant, heels can be off the floor. And we'll take this shape and just kind of bear crawl yourself back towards the front of the mat. So walk your dog a little bit and then walk the feet forward, bending the knees nice and deeply. And inhale, rise to stand. Oh, I already feel great. My body feels so different. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, hinge at the hips for this bent knee forward fold. And the fingertips come to some place, either the block, the floor, or your thigh, as the left leg slides back for our fingertip lunge. Make sure that left glute doesn't disappear on you. You want it to keep the pelvis stable. And play around with what feels good on this hip. It might be different than the other side. Everybody plant your hands either on the blocks or the floor. Slide that right leg back, three-legged down dog. Right pelvis stays stable here. And then exhale, step the foot forward. Return to your version of our lunge. Continuing to encourage this right hip crease to deepen, imagining that thigh bone entering the hip socket. Hands plant, three-legged down dog, right leg sweeps back. Exhale, step the foot forward. Fingertip lunge or palms on the thigh. We'll do one more three-legged down dog, hands plant, leg sweeps back. And then step the foot forward, we head for our side lunge. So we'll turn to the left this time, both toes facing that direction. And then the hands can come in front of the right foot, and you sit into the left hip crease, bending left knee. Again, you've got those options. If that feels like trash, no need to do it. And if it feels okay, you can exhale and pull that front body up towards the ceiling. So we're not sagging towards the front, but really isolating the stretch to the side. It's the same thing we practice in our gait on the other side. And walk the hands back towards the front. We'll head to our plank. Remember, you can have knees down at any time. And feel even here that the chest is open. So we don't want to push our upper back up away from the mat, but just feel settled in the chest. Lower your knees or lower straight to the floor. Hands under the forehead for our cobra. Forehead connects to the back of the palms. Pubic bone is anchored. Inhale and exhale. Lift the upper. Use the upper back to lift the chest. And lower. Inhale. Exhale. Consolidate the front to lift. And lower. Inhale. This time, let's take the palms under the shoulders. We'll do a regular cobra, but keep the head doing what we just practiced. So really take the neck out of it. And lower back towards the floor. Tuck your toes. We're heading towards gate. So we'll press up onto the knees. Right knee sucks underneath the hip and internally rotates. Turning to the left side of our mat for our gate pose. Right hand is planted under the shoulder, left arm's reaching overhead. You can exhale, release the right ear towards the shoulder. And we keep that length in the tailbone for that nice side stretch. Next exhale, we'll head towards our quadruped, just sweeping the left arm down and forward, taking the hands under the shoulders, internally rotating the hips. Inhale for our cat. That's not a cat, that's a cow, I'm sorry. Exhale for cat. I will never learn, it seems. Inhale for cow, keeping that length in the back of the neck, and exhale for our cat. One more each way. Feeling as you head to this cat, the broadening in the low back, and then tuck the toes in your cat, lift the knees up towards a short down dog. Release the neck a little bit, and then walk yourself around towards the front. Might feel a little awkward, that's okay. And then walk the feet forward, bending into knees and hips. Inhale, rise to stand. Sun cell A here, bunch of options. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant, floor or your block, and we step back to plank or go straight to your down dog, you pick. If you head into plank, we'll lower the knees, lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra, pull the chest forward. Exhale, we'll all meet in that down dog. Big inhale, walk the feet forward a little bit. Rise on the toes. Exhale, bend the knees, and then walk or hop forward. Returning to bent knee forward fold, and we inhale, rise to stand. Same thing, exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant. Step it back to down dog or your plank. Lowering the knees if you took plank to lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra. And exhale, everybody's in down dog. Walk those feet in a bit. Inhale, rise onto the toes. Exhale, bend the knees. And then walk or hop forward. We'll do just one more here. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands plant. Head to plank or your down dog. You can lower the knees or lower halfway if you took plank. Inhale for cobra or up dog. And exhale for your down dog. We're all there. Big inhale here. Exhale through the mouth. Letting some stuff out, feeling what you're feeling. Good, and then we'll walk the hands back to the feet for happy squat. So we start to sit into the heels, bend the knees really deeply, as if you were gonna sit your butt into a chair behind you. Palms can be under the shoulders, or fingertips can be a bit more towards the middle of the mat with an extension, like you're kind of lengthening through the back here. And we'll move between two things here. So just reverse what we did, walking the hands forward, but pause in a plank. You also could pause in a down dog, so you can pick. If you took plank, we'll lift towards down dog. Everybody walk the hands back to your happy squat. And hands walk forward, down dog or plank. And lift the pelvis. If you took your plank, we all walk those hands back. Happy squat. Last time here, walking it forward, down dog or plank. If you take a plank, you can always do a half push up here. Yogi's choice, pick your poison. And then lift those hips. We'll walk the hands back one last time here into our happy squat, bending the knees really deeply. I should have mentioned hands can also be on the legs. So when we do the other side, just remember that. Slide the fingers forward and then step the left foot forward. Reach that right leg behind you for a standing L. You could have fingertips on the floor, you could have palms on the floor, and we're bending the left knee, creasing in the hip. Blocks are a great idea for this to give you a little more room. Reaching the fingertips forward once again, right leg sweeps through and steps. Left leg flies back, standing L. If you're using blocks, you can always walk with them, just moving them forward with the hands. One more time, hands move forward, step the left foot forward, standing L. Right leg is lifting. Good, and then bend more into the left knee. Big action here, we're gonna rise to stork. So we're bringing the right knee towards our chest as we rise to stand. Maybe that knee is lower, doesn't matter, but we're in this one-legged balance. Palms come to either side of the pelvis. Lower the foot, and then lift the knee, but this time hips in external rotation. So I'll show you from the front. So we started straight, and then we're gonna open it in more of a open position with the hip. So we'll just move between these two, almost envisioning it was like, this to me reminds me of like a marionette almost, like somebody was just pulling this knee up for you. And you don't have to move as much as I do. It can be a smaller range, that's fine. Just two more here, so we'll go straight and external rotation, and then cross that right ankle over the left thigh for a figure four. So we'll sit the hips back, creasing in that hip crease, and you'll feel the right hip, the outer hip opening here. Exhale, find length in the back of the neck. And then uncross this right foot, and we'll step turning to the side of the mat for a skater hop. So we step onto the right foot, left leg comes next to it, and we'll shift side to side. You can swing the arms with you. But again, this is something that has a lot of options. You can take it nice and slow, have hands on the hips, really dial into being over this leg that you land on, or you can make it more of like a pendulum and feel more rebound. So pick what you want today. We won't be here for long. Good, and then everybody land on your right leg, step the left foot towards the front of the mat and turn. We'll head to twisted crescent, bending into left knee and hip, right hand lands on a block or the floor, and you twist open to the left. You can lower the right knee if it feels like too much, but keep that pelvis neutral. Turning on the right glute. And exhale, let the right ear fall towards the right shoulder. Good, and then plant the left hand, big action here. We'll head to down dog, left leg steps back, and then lower to a dolphin. So lowering the forearms, and if, again, that feels bad, don't do it. You can head to a quadruped with the forearms down. But if you take a dolphin, Again, head to that internal rotation of the hips, walking the feet wide, and then slightly turning the toes in. Let that head go, lengthening the back of the neck. Good, and then everybody take the legs back to a neutral position, lower those knees, and sit back for a child's pose just for a moment. Big inhale here. Exhale, and just dial in. See if you can sense, does this feel any different than our first child's pose today? I hope so. Big inhale and exhale. Shifting our weight forward towards our hands. Tuck the toes, lift through your down dog. We'll start on the other side here. Heading to our happy squat. You can move the blocks back if you want a little bit of lift. But we'll walk our hands back to the feet, land those heels, bend the knees, shifting the hips back. If you have the blocks on your hand, it will look like this. The hands could also be on the legs. Starting to shift here, we walk it forward to down dog or head to a plank. Optional half push up there. And then lift through down dog, we'll all walk it back. Happy squat. Lengthen that spine and walk it forward. Down dog, plank, half push up. And hands walk back one at a time. Happy squat. Walk it forward, stopping where you want to stop. Good, and lift the hips. Walk back to your happy squat and we'll move on from here. Remembering you can bring the hands to the legs. They do not have to be on the floor. We'll bring the fingertips to the floor about halfway up or a little less. Step the right foot forward for our standing L. Left leg flies back. We want length from like back of the head to the left heel. So the right knee can bend so much to make that happen. And we can also lift the floor towards us by blocks, or you can have the hands on the legs. Fingertips shift forward, left leg steps. Standing L, right leg flies back. Pelvis stays neutral here. Fingertips move, right foot steps. Standing L this last time. And then bend the right knee even more. Rising towards stork, that big move. Press into the right foot, rise to stand as the left knee lifts for our balance here. Hands come to either side of the pelvis. Left foot lowers and then an external rotation. Lift that knee once again. So we'll just start moving in these two planes. We've worked the hip a little bit in terms of getting more range for rotation. So hopefully you feel some availability here. Let's do one more straight and then one more in our external rotation. Cross for our figure four, left ankle over the right thigh, and we bend into the right knee, shift those hips back. A little bit like a chair feeling. Palms can come to heart center. And just feel some opening in that left hip. One more breath here. You guys are doing it, we're here. And we're turning for the skater hop, so we'll turn to the left side of the mat. Left leg steps back and we shift from either foot, moving side to side. Remember, you can keep this at a pace that feels good for you. So just figure out what that is and believe in it. Doesn't matter what I say. And I love these side to side movements because we don't really do them in life. Most of our activities are very forward and backward. So it's really great for, getting us out of our humdrum everyday thing. Maybe finding some rebound here. Good, everybody step onto the left leg. Right leg steps to the front of the mat for our twisted crescent. Bending into knee and hip. Planting left hand and opening in a twist to the right. So the legs are basically doing that first lunge that we did in our flow today. With that straight left leg, as I said, you can lower the left knee if that feels better. Good, and exhale, left ear comes to the left shoulder. Let the neck relax. Hands plant on the mat. We're headed to our dolphin. So step back to down dog. You can take this through the knees or lower the forearms straight to the mat. And we will make our way towards an internal rotation in the hips. If that's not your jam, we'll just stay in our internally rotated quadruped. One more breath there. Exhale. And then take the legs to neutral, shift the hips back. One more time for that child's pose. And this time, take the arms back by your pelvis. And do let yourself curl over the thighs. If you have that wide-legged version, it'll be a bit wider and a little different feeling, but it's fine. And just breathe there. We're gonna put those sequences together a little bit, and we'll make them a little bit more fluid. But just take this time to check in and see how you're feeling, how the body's feeling. If you've moved any of your stuff around before we move on here. Good, and on your next exhale, if you're ready, shift forward towards the palms, rising onto the knees and tuck in the toes. Walk yourself forward, bend the knees and hips, and then rise. And once you rise here, I want you to close your eyes, put your hands somewhere on your body, and say something nice to yourself. It could be about anything, but just give yourself a moment of kindness. And we're gonna move now. So here we go. We can open those eyes. This part is always fun. We'll inhale, reach the arms forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Fingertips land on the floor or your prop. Step the right toes back for this first fingertip lunge we practiced today. Check in with what version feels good now. It might have changed, it might not. And then we'll plant the hands, left leg sweeps back, three-legged down dog. This is a little different. You can head back to that lunge or step the left foot forward, lift the right leg for a standing L. That's a lot of demand on the back of the left leg, so if it doesn't feel good, just do that lunge. And back to three-legged down dog, left leg lifts. Exhale, step it forward and shift to either your lunge or our standing L. Hands plant, three-legged down dog, left leg lifts. Last time here, towards your lunge or standing L. If you want to try a handstand, go for a hop here onto the hands. And then everybody lower the right toes, turn for our side lunge. Hands will stay in front of the left foot, bend into the right knee and hip. And then we'll move with this. So kind of, if you took the side stretch here, sweep your hands along the mat from side to side. And if not, you just find your normal movement in side lunge, moving side to side. Turning to the front of the mat, hands plant for plank or knees down there. Everybody lower to the floor, either through the knees or straight. Inhale, take a cobra, or try flying the legs up, reach those arms by your side for locust. Third option, grab the inner border of both feet for bow. But if you're in bow, keep using the glutes to save your low back. We'll lower whatever you've got going, hands plant under the shoulders. Tuck the toes, this time, little different. We'll scoop that left knee under the hip, but keep it parallel, and we'll open for a modified side plank, right arm reaching towards the front. So that left hand is rooted, left shin is rooted. Good, and exhale, sweep the hand down, come into our quadruped with internal rotation, and cat-cow here. If our playlists are synced, this is one of my favorite nostalgic songs. Just moving to the beat here. Good, and then option, you can tuck the toes, lift to down dog with this internal rotation, or take the forearms down and lift into your dolphin. Big inhale and exhale. If you have those legs internally rotated, take them to neutral. If you're in dolphin, press into the palms, lift the forearms, and we'll walk back for our happy squat, sitting into the knees, the heels, and sitting the hips back. And then walk forward to your plank or your down dog. Again, you can take a little half push up, lift through down dog, and then walk the hands back, bringing them onto your legs or the floor. And we'll just move between these two. Start to find your rhythm. So I'm not going to tell you how fast to go. Good, and next time you're in happy squat, just pause there. Slide the hands forward. This is different too. Step the left foot forward, and we'll open for half moon. So keep the left fingertips on the floor. Open up the right half of you towards the ceiling, like a modified side plank position, where you just have a straight left leg. If that's not your jam, you stick with your standing L. You can, if you're in half moon, reach the right arm forward towards the front of the mat. That'll give you a nice side stretch. Good, and everybody move through a standing L. We'll rise to bring that the right knee towards us for stork, and then cross it for a figure four. Sitting the hips back. Big inhale. Exhale, and let's take it to the right for our skaters. So facing right side of the mat, we go side to side, whatever version. Fast, slow, do you. Good, we'll step the left foot to the front of the mat, turn, twisted crescent here. Right hand lands. You can always lower that right knee. Good, and then plant the left hand, step the right foot forward, exhale, press into the feet, rise to stand. We'll head to the other side. Exhale, hinging at the hips, hands plant wherever, and then step the left foot back for our fingertip lunge. Checking in if you want to bring the hands to the thigh or to the floor. Good, and then plant the hands, right leg sweeps back, three-legged down dog. Exhale, returning to that lunge, or plant the right foot for our standing L, lift the left leg. Left toes lower, three-legged down dog, right leg lifts. Exhale, stepping to your lunge or your standing L. You can add a hop if you want a handstand. And the toes lower, sweep the right leg back, three-legged down dog. Last time, head to your lunge or your standing L. Adding a hop if you choose. And then the left toes lower, we turn to our left for those side lunges. Taking either those sweeps of the hand or keeping things more neutral and moving side to side. Couple more here, letting it out. Feeling, I don't know, it almost feels like your chemistry changes over these 60 minutes. And then we'll turn to the front of the mat, plant the hands, plank or knees down, and we lower to the floor. Inhale, cobra, locust by flying arms and legs back, or try that bow, grabbing inner border of the feet. Honor what feels good to you. And then exhale, lower. Palms plant under the shoulders, tuck the toes. We're heading to modified side plank. So lift onto the knees. That right shin comes underneath, and you open to the left, reaching the left arm forward towards the front of the mat. Breathing here. Exhale. Let it go through the mouth. Good, and then we'll turn to face the front of the mat for quadruped. Internal rotation in the hips, knees coming together, and take a couple cat-cows. Just moving through the spine, feeling if it's more supple. And then 2 options, either dolphin or down dog. So you either tuck the toes and lift for down dog, or lower the forearms and then lift the knees. Maybe tucking that chin towards the throat. Everybody take the legs back to parallel. If you're in dolphin, press into the palms, lift those forearms, and we walk it back for happy squat. Finding your version, and we walk it forward, plank or down dog. Option to push up. Shifting it back, happy squat, and walking it forward. Shift it back, happy squat, walk it forward. Just one more here. Shift it back, happy squat, pause there. Take a moment, collect yourself. And we'll head to that half moon position. So if you want to grab a block for under your right hand, you can do that. We'll walk the fingertips forward and then step the right foot forward as if you were headed to a standing L. But then you're going to rotate open, bringing that left side of you kind of up towards the ceiling. And if, again, that's not working, you just do your standing L. You could even be in a down dog. Maybe that left arm reaches forward. And on the next exhale, we will all move towards a standing L. Bend the right knee, and then press into the foot. Rise, lifting that left knee to stork, and ultimately figure 4, crossing ankle over thigh. Shifting the hips back, deepening the hip crease. Feels a bit more open. Exhale. Heading for those skaters, we'll turn to the left side. Left foot steps to the back of the mat, and we start our shifts. Either finding a bit of rebound or really, dialing into your own speed. Shifting side to side. This is kind of our last big thing. Couple more. And then step on the left foot, right leg steps to the front of the mat, twisted crescent. Bending into right knee and hip, left hand plants. Twisting open to the right. You can always lower that left knee. Good, we'll plant the hands, step the right foot back, lower those knees. Last time here, child's pose. Walking the hands forward, big inhale. Exhale. Let the forehead come to the mat. And then start to shift. I might have to do this so you can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me with my head down. So you'll start to shift so that your weight comes towards the very top, the crown of your head, but you're not weighting into it. You're just gently lifting the hips a little bit. The majority of your weight is still in the legs. And then you're just gonna roll a little circle on the top of the head. And again, we're not putting pressure there, it's too precious. We're just kind of opening up the skin on the top of our skull. So it's not like a headstand at all. Don't love those. And then we'll go in the other direction. Good, and then sit the hips back. We'll head to our backs, sweeping the shins to one side and making your way back towards the floor. Maybe drawing the knees with you as you go, pulling them towards you. Big inhale here. Exhale. And then just really give an active hug to the shins here. Maybe wrapping the hands or the forearms around, and then pulling that head towards the knees. Consolidating in a really intense way. And then slowly, slowly, slowly opening up. And I want you to find a position for these moments of Shavasana that really feels good to you. It could be seated, it could be laying down, it could be a stretch. If you're listening to the playlist, you can go ahead and skip to the final song. It's called Shavasana 2. And once you've settled in this position, really let yourself fall into the floor, encouraging the tension out of your body. Sometimes we have to cultivate that tension to move for that feeling and that healing. But taking these moments where we are liberated from that effort packs such a big punch. So we'll be here for a few moments, sealing in all the work we just did. If you'd like to stay here longer today, just mute the video and stay here as long as you'd like. If you're ready to move, as you continue breathing, start to picture, if you could, envision in your mind, your heart and your lungs, all of these vital organs we have, especially in our torso, just oscillating with your breath. These things we don't often think about. And then try to create some picture of all of the feelings and sensations throughout the day that are layered on top of these taken for granted systems. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's clouds or like a paint layer. I don't know. But just know that we're always holding all of this inside of us, and acknowledging it is lovely. On your next inhale, you can reach the arms overhead, extending the legs and the arms in opposite directions. Exhale, drawing the knees towards you. Maybe if you're on your back or laying down, you can come up to a seat, keeping those eyes closed. Just stacking our bodies for a moment here before we head on to the rest of our day. We'll close with one final breath together. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through the mouth. Bring those palms to heart center. Say a little thank you to yourself. The light in me sees and honors the light in each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. I am always here for questions, so I'll stick around for a few minutes. If I don't see you soon, I hope you are well and healthy. And I'm here, I'm always here. So have a good one, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Peter.